We are listening Talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi. Talk 67 now. A visitor, Mr. K.S.N. Iyer of the South Indian Railway said, "There is a trifling halting place in my meditation. When I ask myself, who am I, my reasoning proceeds as follows. I see my hand. Who sees it? My eye. How to see the eye? In a mirror. Similarly, to see me, there must be a mirror. Which is to supply the place of the mirror in me, is my question. Or who will supply the mirror to me?" Ramana Maharshi to this said, "Then why do you inquire who am I? Why do you say you are troubled and so on? You could as well remain quiet. Why do you rise out of your composure?" Devotee then said that enquiring thus helps me to concentrate. Is concentration the only benefit? Maharshi said, "What more do you want? Concentration is the thing. What makes you come out of your quietness?" Devotee said, "Because I am drawn out." Then Maharshi said, "Enquiry of who am I means finding the source of I. When that is found, that which you seek is accomplished." The gist of Sri Bhagavan's words seems to be that one should make a concentrated effort and not give it up baffled with a defeatist mentality. Talk 68. Dr. Radha Kamal Mukherjee, a well-known professor, fair man of middle age with a peaceful look, practicing yoga or meditation, has had some occult experiences and desires the mystery to be unraveled by the Master. He even has written a book and had it published by Messrs. Longmans Green and Company from London. He finds self-realization hard to attain and requires the Master's help. His question, the Upanishadic method of meditation, has now disappeared. There was a great sage in Bengal who instructed me in it. After long years of discipline and practice, I am having some mystic experiences. I feel sometimes that the Bhuma or Supreme Consciousness is infinitude or infinite, and that I am finite consciousness. Is that correct? To this Maharshi said that Bhuma or perfection alone is. Perfection alone is existing, it is infinite. There arises from it this finite consciousness taking on an upadhi or limiting adjunct. This is abhas only. This is just reflection. Merge this individual consciousness into the Supreme One. That is what should be done. Then that devotee said, Bhuma is an attribute of Supreme Consciousness. Maharshi said, Bhuma is the Supreme. Yatra nanyat pashyanti, yatra nanyat shrunoti sa bhuma. That where one does not see any other, hears nothing, it is perfection. This cannot be defined and this cannot be described. It is as it is. Then the devotee asked that there is vastness experienced. Probably it is just below Bhuma but close to it. Am I right? Maharshi replied, Bhuma alone is. Supreme alone is existing. Nothing else is there. It is the mind which says all this. Then the devotee said, Transcending the mind, I feel the vastness. Ramana Maharshi said, Yes, yes. The professor then turned to the lady seated just a little further away from him and interpreted in Hindi to her. Then she said that, Sri Bhagavan, what is the difference between meditation and distraction? Ramana Maharshi said, no difference. When there are thoughts, it is distraction. When there are no thoughts, it is meditation. However, meditation is only practice as distinguished from the real state of peace. Then she asked how to practice meditation. Maharshi said, just keep off thoughts. Then she said, how to reconcile work with meditation. Sri Bhagavan is replying that who is the worker? Let him who works ask the question. You are always the self. You are not the mind. It is the mind which raises these questions. Work proceeds always in the presence of the self only. Work is no hindrance to realization. It is the mistaken identity of the worker that troubles one. Get rid of the false identity. Then that Professor Mukherjee asked that, is not the state of non-consciousness close to infinite consciousness? Ramana Maharshi said, consciousness alone remains and nothing more. Devotee then said, Sri Bhagavan's silence is itself a powerful force. It brings about a certain peace of mind in us. Maharshi said, silence is never-ending speech. Vocal speech obstructs the other speech of silence. In silence, one is in intimate contact with the surroundings. The silence of Dakshinamurti removed the doubts of the four sages. Mauna Vyakya Prakatik Tattvam. truth expounded by silence. Silence is said to be the exposition. Silence is so potent. For vocal speech, organs of speech are necessary and they precede speech. But the other speech lies even beyond thought. It is, in short, transcendent speech or unspoken words, paravakya. Then the devotee said that, is there knowledge in realization? Maharshi replied, absence of knowledge is sleep. There is knowledge in realization, but this knowledge differs from the ordinary one of the relation of subject and object. It is absolute knowledge. Knowledge has two meanings. Vachartha, lakshartha means literal meaning, or the swarupa, self, the jnana, secondary significance, or what it points to. Then the devotee said, with vritti one sees knowledge. Maharshi said, quite so. He also confounds vritti with knowledge. Vritti is a mode of mind. You are not the mind, you are beyond it. Then the lady said, there is sometimes an irresistible desire to remain in Brahmakara vritti. Maharshi said, this is good. Maharshi said further that this is good and this is important. It must be cultivated until it becomes sahaj, natural. Then it culminates as Swarup, one's own self. Later, Sri Bhagavan explained that vritti is often mistaken for consciousness. It is only a phenomenon and operates in the region of Abhasa, reflected consciousness. The knowledge lies beyond relative knowledge and ignorance. It is not in the shape of vritti. There are no subject and object in it. This vritti belongs to the rajasic mind, that is the active mind. The Satvic mind is repose, is free from it. The Satvic mind is free from these vrittis. Satvic is the witness of Rajasic, and it is no doubt true consciousness. Still, it is called Satvic mind because the knowledge of being a witness is the function of Abhasa only. Mind is the Abhasa, just reflection, projection. Such knowledge implies mind, but the mind is by itself inoperative. Therefore, it is called Satvic mind. Such is the Jivanmukta's state, one who is free truly. It is also said that his mind is dead. Is it not a paradox that a Jivanmukta has a mind and that it is dead? This has to be conceded in argument with ignorant folk. It is also said that Brahma is only the Jivanmukta's mind. It is also said that Brahma is only the Jivanmukta's mind. How can one speak of him as Brahmavid, knower of Brahma? Brahma can never be an object to be known. This is, however, in accordance with the common parlance. Satvic mind is surmised of the Jivanmukta and of Ishvara. Otherwise, they argue, how does the Jivanmukta live and act? The Satvic mind has to be admitted as a concession to argument. The Satvic mind actually is in fact the absolute consciousness, the object to be witnessed and the witness finally merged together, and the absolute consciousness alone reigns supreme. It is not the state of shunya or ignorance, it is the state of swarupa, the real self. Some say that mind arises from consciousness followed by reflection or abhas, and others say that the abhas or reflection arises first followed by the mind. In fact, both are simultaneous. Then the professor asked Sri Bhagavan to extend his grace to him, although he would soon be 1,000 miles off. Sri Bhagavan said that time and space are only the concepts of mind, but Swarupa, the real self, lies beyond mind, time and space. Distance does not count in the self. Then the lady with him was most reluctant to leave the master and return home. The master said, "Think that you're always in my presence. That will make you feel all right always." And then they left after dusk. Talk 69 now. There were reports of the above said professor's university lectures in the Hindu. The lecturer has emphasized the necessity for birth control and discussed the various possibilities of making the man feel his responsibilities so that birth control might be automatic. The master, on hearing it, casually remarked, "Let them find out the method of dying." Here, death refers to that of the ego, ahankar. And one meaning also is the others find out the method of dying to die, but over here we learn the method of dying to live. Talk 70. Sri Raju Sastrigal asked Sri Bhagavan about the Nada Bindu and Kala. To this, Maharshi replied, "They are in Vedanta terminology prana, mana, buddhi, the life current, mind, and intellect. In the Tantras, Nad is said to be subtle sound with tejas, light in it. This light is said to be the body of Shiva. When it develops and sound is submerged, it becomes Bindu. To be full of light, Tejomaya is the aim, and Kala is a part of the Bindu. It could also be termed as sensation spreading all around. In the talk 71, this is mentioned as the chronological sequence of the master's stay in different places at Tiruvannamalai. In 1896, he arrived at Tiruvannamalai and stayed in the temple premises, beneath the tree, in the interior of the underground cellar, Patalalingam, sometimes in the Gopurams, etc. In the early 1897, he moved to Guru Murtam, stayed in the shrine and in the adjoining mango grove. Around 18 months he stayed there. Then in the month of September 1898, he was in Pavalakunaru. And then in the February 1899, on the hill in the caves, the Mango Tree Cave and the Virupaksha Cave. Then in 1995, stayed in Pachi Amman Kovil for 6 months during the plague ravages, again on the hill. Again in the January 1908, February and the March in Pachi Ammam Koil, again on the hill. Then in 1916, Skand Ashram, and 1922, the Ramana Ashram site on the southern slope of the hill. Talk 72. Mr. K.S.N. Iyer, a railway officer, asked about Japa. Maharshi replied, the utterance and then remembrance and latter meditation are the successive stages, finally ending in involuntary and eternal Japa. The Japakarta, or the doer of Japa of that kind, is the self of all the Japas. Who am I is the best. Talk 73 now. Mr. Ekanath Rao, the engineer, asked that what about the despondency of not obtaining any encouragement from the Master, much less his grace? Ramana Maharshi to this said, it is ignorance only. The quest must be made as to who is despondent and so on. It is the phantom of the ego arising after sleep which falls a prey to such thoughts. In deep sleep the person was not afflicted. Who is afflicted now while awake? The sleep state is about the normal one. Let him search and find out. Devotee then said, but there is no incentive for want of encouragement. Ramana Maharshi replied that, does not one find some kind of peace while in meditation? That is the sign of progress. That peace will be deeper and more prolonged with continued practice. It will also lead to the goal. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, the final verses speak of Gunatita, one who has transcended the Gunas, that is the final stage. Ramana Maharshi said further that the earlier stages are Ashuddha Sattva, impure being, Mishra Sattva, mixed being, and Shuddha Sattva, pure being. Of these, the impure being is when overpowered by Rajas and Tamas. The mixed being is that state in which the being Sattva asserts itself spasmodically. The Shuddha Sattva overpowers Rajas and Tamas. After these successive stages, there comes the state transcending Gunas. Talk 74. Mr. Friedman, the engineer, writes in one of his letters that Maharshi is with me not only when I think of him, but also when I am not thinking of him. Otherwise, how do I live? Then in the talk 75, this is mentioned that Mr. Grant Duff, formerly in the foreign embassy, writes that, "Pay my respects to Maharshi. He appears to me in my thoughts not only as an answer to my questions, but also as presence." Talk 76 now. Mr. K.S.N. Iyer said that he was not convinced how a spiritual life could be reconciled to worldly activities. The Master in answer cited some verses from the Yoga Vasishta. The original is said to be millions of verses, of which only 32,000 stanzas are now found in the Sanskrit text. It was condensed to 6,000 and called Laghu Vasishta. The latter has been rendered in Tamil in 2050 stanzas. Devotee. Without the mind concentrating on it, the work cannot be performed satisfactorily. How is the mind to be spiritually disposed and the work kept going as well? Maharshi said, "The mind is only a projection from the self, appearing in the waking state. In deep sleep, you do not say whose son you are and so on. As soon as you wake up, you say you are so and recognize the world and so on. The world is only loka loka, lokayate iti lokaha. What is perceived is the world. That which is seen is the world. Which is the eye that sees it? That is the ego which rises and sinks periodically, but you exist always." Therefore, that which lies beyond the ego is consciousness, the self which all are searching to attain incessant happiness. Maharshi said further that in deep sleep, mind is merged and not destroyed. That which merges reappears. It may happen in meditation also, but the mind which is destroyed cannot reappear. The yogi's aim must be to destroy it and not to sink in laya. In the peace of dhyan, laya ensues, but it is not enough. It must be supplemented by other practices for destroying the mind. Some people have gone into samadhi with a trifling thought and after a long time awakened in the trail of the same thought. In the meantime, generations have passed away in the world. Such a yogi has not destroyed his mind. Its destruction is the non-recognition of it as being apart from the self. Even now, the mind is not existing. Recognize it. Recognize this fact. How can you do it if not in everyday activities? So the everyday activity or the householder's life are actually a boon. They go on automatically with that setup or arrangement. Know that the mind promoting them is not real but a phantom proceeding from the self, or the Rakshas proceeding from the self. That is how the mind is destroyed. The practice of silence to notice how the thing functions. When we live alone, when we live with the world, and the inquiry of the circumstances which got created with the words coming forth from your mouth, when the words not coming forth from your mouth, observe these things. It will help in a great deal. Now time to take a pause. Thanks for listening.